Hello. This is a made-up story. It's currently 2:10 in the morning, and I only have 4 names in my head. One is from an answer in which I asked people in my last Ramble to suggest names that they would want to be included in this next story. I say story, I haven't even started to think in my head, but then again, if I plan it, it'll be too boring. So, that name is Bailey, and I haven't decided yet, even now as I'm about to start talking, I haven't decided yet if Bailey's going to be a man or a woman or an animal. But aren't we all animals? But anyway, there's Bailey and Jacob and Alex. Maybe they're good whispering ASMR names with the enunciations of Alex and Jacob and Billy. So let us begin and let us find out where my crazy mind is going to take us. And I think in this video and all future videos, I will begin thus. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there lived a man called Billy. Now, Billy was a big fella. He was funny and smart. And no, this isn't about me, this is about Billy. Don't be jumping to conclusions. So, Billy was a rocket scientist. He was. Don't be second guessing me. He was a rocket scientist. Now, some people use the expression, yeah, but it's hardly brain surgery. But he could say, well, I'm an actual rocket scientist, you know. So he went through university and he did applied mathematics and pure mathematics and engineering. And now he was a rocket scientist. And his favorite hobby in all the world was origami. Yep, origami. There was nothing Billy liked more than to get a piece of colored paper and fold it up into all different kinds of shapes. He could make animals like birds and reptiles and butterflies, but mostly he liked making planes. Do you know why? It was because of the aerodynamic properties of flight, and with his background in rocket science, he was damn good at making paper planes that could fly a long way. Apparently it's all to do with the stubbiness of the nose. So, Billy, as well as being funny and tall and good looking and being a rocket scientist, was also married. And he was married to Felicia. And Felicia was a some reason Space Cowboy popped into my head, but that's from an episode of Friends. And Felicia was such an exciting job as a chartered tax accountant. Yeah, I've made that hard to remember, haven't I? Maybe I haven't. Maybe I've made it easy to remember. You might think to yourself, in what circle of life would a chartered tax accountant meet a rocket scientist? Well, they used to go to the same primary school, or for you Americans, kindergarten, and they grew up always knowing each other and always knowing of each other's existence and watching and seeing what they were doing and where they were going. And basically Billy was a bit of a stalker on Facebook. But hey, that's why Facebook was invented. It was so that single men, well, I suppose not just single men, can stalk women. Okay, time to take this story on a different turn because it's getting a bit dark. So, Billy and Felicia decided to go on a little holiday, and they'd been to England and Scotland and Wales and all of Ireland. They'd been just about everywhere in Ireland you could wish to go to, even the crap places. And they decided that there was one place that both of them really, really wanted to go, and that was Australia. Because if you're going to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds to go somewhere, and you're going to spend more than one day on a flight, and you're going to go somewhere where it's so hot that it's just unlike anything else you're used to in your whole life, why not go to Australia, you know? So, Felicia said to, I've forgotten his name, Felicia said to Billy, she said, Billy, I think we should go to Australia. And Billy was like, listen, love, do you know how long it takes to fly from here to Australia? And she said, yes, 23 hours one way. And Billy was like, okay, fine, but come on now, that's a whole lot of money. Where are we gonna get all that money from? And she said, well, you know how I'm a chartered tax accountant. And he said, yes, I know that. I tell everyone you're a chartered tax accountant. And she said, well, let's just say I'm not a very legal, law-abiding chartered tax accountant. And Billy said, what are you getting at? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Are you a criminal? And she said, listen, you may be a rocket scientist when it comes to rocket science, but it seems that you haven't quite figured out that we live in a lap of luxury above and beyond what I should be earning in only my third year as a chartered tax accountant. And Billy said, well, I did wonder, but I just guessed that, accountants make lots of money. And Felicia said, well, we do. We have to have some sort of compensation for the fact that we don't have a personality or a life outside of the job. So, I've been helping myself to the company finances, and I'm pretty well off. And Billy said, well, you're pretty well off as long as you don't get caught. reason I'm thinking of Felicia Day, and I have no idea who that is. Let's hope it's not a porn star. Anyway, Felicia said, Bailey, that's a weird thing to say all of a sudden. Top, you wondering about Felicia Day. And Bailey said, okay, back to the conversation. And she said, well, I've been helping myself to the finances. And then he said, as long as you don't get caught. And then she said, blah, 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 blah. Okay, back to the story. And she said, no one's gonna find out. So you keep your mouth shut and don't tell anyone. And he said, well, I was completely oblivious to the whole fact of it as of 2 minutes ago. So why did you say something to me in the first place? And Felicia said, why are you bringing logic into this? And he said, I'm sorry, it's just what I do. So Billy says to her, okay, so we have the means to go to Australia, but what are we going to do when we're there? And Felicia said, I know, I'm gonna call my friend Jacob, who used to live there for 27 years. And Billy said, that's a weirdly precise amount of time you said there. Why did you not just say he's lived there nearly 30 years? And Felicia said, Billy, why do you have to always be such an argumentative dick? And he said, listen, love, I love you and you love me, but please don't call me names. You know how it makes me upset. And Felicia said, why don't you grow a set of balls? And Billy said, sure, I have balls. I thought you liked the wee fellas. And Felicia said, would you stop calling them the wee fellas? And Billy said, I'll call them whatever I want. And Felicia said, listen, we should stop arguing, even though the quality of this dialogue is better than 50 Shades of Grey. And Billy said, I wouldn't know, I haven't read any of that nonsense or seen any of the movies. And Felicia said, well, come on, I'll give you one bit of credit. At least that's a wee bit of wisdom that you have. I'm gonna go and send Jacob an email. And hopefully Jacob was the name of the person I said earlier who lives in Australia. So she sent Jacob an email saying, hi Jacob, me and Bailey are planning on going to Australia on a holiday. Please tell us places to go, even though we're not giving you any help and telling you what we want to do. And we're basically saying, hey, we're going to visit a big, massive continent. Give us things to do. Now, an hour later, Jacob responded with, hi, Felicia. I can't believe you're coming to Australia. How about you use Google and look up some places yourself, because I can't be bothered to help you. I think you've been stealing from the company. What do you say about that, you bitch, you? So, Felicia read the email and she let a big loud scream out of her. You know the type of scream she makes. And Bailey came running into the room and he said, God damn it, love, I was just about to create a new fuel for my rocket. And Felicia said, listen here, you boy, Jacob says that he thinks I'm stealing money from the company. And Billy said, that's a weird direction this story's suddenly taken. I thought he was going to give you tips on places to go to in Australia. And Felicia said, you never know what way these things are going to go. In these loud rambling stories, you don't have a clue 1 second to another. What do you reckon? Should we still go to Australia so we can sort Jacob out? And Billy said, well, if you think we can afford it, maybe we should go and visit this Jacob fella and see exactly what he has to say for himself. So he did. So, anyhow, they go online and they do the dippity-dip, bippity-dip, bip, bip, and they book tickets to go to Australia 1 week later. Now, normally, the perfect time to book tickets is about, I think it's 26 days in advance of a holiday. Or is it 55? I think it's 55 days before a holiday is the cheapest time. But you have to remember that Felicia was a thieving bitch and she was taking a lot of money from the company. So she was able to just book tickets for the next week and stick it into first class. So 1 week later, they flew from London to Doha, and then from Doha to Australia. And for those of you who aren't quite sure where Doha is, I can't tell you because I'm not sure right now myself. Anyway, so they landed in Australia, and they got off the plane, and Billy said to Felicia, he said, God damn, it's warm. And Felicia said, really, I hadn't noticed. And then he said, well, wake up then and smell the coffee. And Felicia said, what kind of nonsense are you talking about? This sounds like just out filler to make the conversation go on a bit longer. And Billy said, right, let's get a taxi to the hotel. And Felicia said, we'll finish this argument later. And Billy said, I think we just have one long argument ever since we got married. And then they headed to the hotel. And when I got to the hotel, Felicia rang Jacob, and she said, G'day, Jacob. How are you? And Jacob said, Felicia, where are you calling me from? And she said, we're in insert name of random Australian city. And Jacob said, God damn, you're only 3,000 miles away from me. And Felicia said, what do you mean 3,000 miles away? I thought you were here. And he says, I was, but I moved yesterday. I'm afraid I didn't tell you because why would I? You're over on the other side of the world. And Felicia let a big loud curse out of her that forced the person in the next hotel room to bang the walls and tell him to keep quiet because there was children in the next room. And Felicia yelled something quite profane about where the person next door could stick their kids. I'll give you a clue. The sun doesn't shine there. So they then hopped on an off flight and they flew over to see Jacob. So they left the airport in a taxi, and along the way they made the usual small talk to the taxi driver. the hotel, or if he was just ripping them off. So they got to the hotel, and from the hotel they then caught a cab out to Jacob's house. And Jacob lived in a big, lovely house. I don't think you really need any more description. Do you want more description? Do you want to know why it was lovely? Okay, let me think about why his house was lovely. Let me describe Jacob's house. Jacob's house had a gate. The end. It was lovely. Get used to it, accept it. It was a lovely house. So they knocked on Jacob's door, and the door opened. That's what they do. And there was a man standing there. He was wearing shoes and socks and short trousers, but nothing on top, just a six-pack. And Bailey said, "Are you Jacob?" He was trying to build up a bit of urgency, a bit of tension. And the man looked at him and said, "No, mate, I'm Paul Dundee." And he goes, "Alright, okay. Is Jacob here?" And from the balcony above, because there was a big vacant house, from the balcony above, there was a shout and a song and a doodle-doodle biddly-biddly-bee. And then they looked up, and there was this god, this muscular Adonis, or he would have been 40 years ago. There was some fat old fella who had pecs the size of watermelons, and his skin was turned to leather in the intense Australian heat. And Bailey looked up at him and said, "Jesus, mate, would you put a shirt on? You're mighty distracting." And Jacob said, "Who are you to talk to me like that, you dirty pommy so-and-so?" And Billy said, "I'm Billy. I'm married to Felicia Day." And Jacob said, "I take it that means your name is Bailey Day." And he says, "No, she wouldn't take my name when we got married." And Jacob said, "Why not?" And Bailey said, "It's because my surname is Bobicia, and she didn't want to be called Felicia Bobicia." And Jacob said, "Well, I wouldn't blame her, that's a shit name." And Bailey said, "Well, I suppose you have a point there." And Jacob said, "I'll be coming back later in the story to ask you what your surname is again, so make sure you remember that." And Bailey Bobicia said, "Aye, okay, no problem." And then Jacob said, "So where is Felicia?" And Bailey said, "She's just outside bringing some documents for you to have a look at." And Jacob said, "That's okay. Sure, come on over to the patio. We're having a bit of a barbecue. We're having some alligator and ostrich and kangaroo steaks." And Bailey said, "Gee, you wouldn't tell you're in Australia, would you? You're not really trying to smack this on a bit thick. Do you have a nice salad?" And Jacob said, "No, mate, we're straight in this household." And Jacob said, and then Bailey said, That's a mighty inappropriate thing to say. And Jacob said, well, we're in Australia now. We don't do appropriate. We're all a bunch of convicts and criminals, you know. That's where we came from. That's where we came from. Whenever the Brits didn't want people, they sent them down here. And then Felicia walked in. And she says, Jacob, darling, I haven't seen you in ages. And Jacob said, why are you talking like an English person? What's going on? Why can't you just talk like you normally talk? And Felicia said, I don't know. It just came over me all of a sudden. I feel right at home here, I do. I feel right at home. And Jacob said, why are you talking like a farmer now? What's going on here? And Felicia said, listen, Jacob, we need to talk somewhere where no one else can hear us. And Jacob said, how about the moon? And Felicia said, what? And Jacob said, well, up there, there's no atmosphere. So, you know, the sound's not going to carry. You know, it's almost like a bit of a vacuum sort of thing, you know. And Felicia said, Jacob, how many tins of beer have you had to drink today? And Jacob looked at his watch and he said, I'm not altogether sure whether or not I finished drinking yet from yesterday. But here is the reason why you came the whole way to Australia. Because I said that I thought you were stealing from the company. And Felicia looked around her, didn't want anyone else to overhear. And she said, well, me and the man were thinking of coming over anyway. But after what you said, we felt like we had to come and see you because we wanted to know just what was going on and why you thought that I was doing that. And Jacob said, well, I figured it was pretty obvious because I gave you the job and I know your salary is X amount and I know that Bailey, being a rocket scientist, doesn't earn that much. And I figured the fact that you live in a 16-bedroom villa in the south of Spain for half the year sort of implied that you're not quite being very honest with the company money. And whatever you call her, Felicia said, but if that's what you think, why haven't you alerted the company to this fact? And Jacob said, well, you know, there's two very good reasons why I haven't. One's up on the left and one's on the right. And Felicia looked at him and she said, I'm afraid I don't quite follow. What do you mean? And Jacob said, I have a proposition to make to you. And Felicia said, okay, go on. And Bailey said, I'm beginning to not like the sound of this. This is beginning to sound a bit like an indecent proposal sort of thingy-majig-mabob. And Jacob said, well, funny you mention it. I've always liked a bit of Robert Redford. Felicia, I believe that you're stealing money from the company. And I'm sure if I was to contact the head office, they could investigate and find out once and for all just how much you're taking from the company. But if you spend the night with me, I will forget everything, and you will never hear from me again. And Bailey looked at Felicia and then looked at Jacob, and he went over and he said, "Listen, man, what are you doing? Don't be thinking like that. She looks good, but my God, man, you wouldn't want to spend the night with her." And Felicia cut Bailey a look, and she says, "What the hell are you doing? Shut your trap. This is the solution to all our problems." And Bailey said, "No, listen, Jacob. Don't do it. You're bound to get something better out of her than spending a night in bed with her." And Felicia looked at both of them, and she said, "Don't listen to what he's saying. I'm a right hardcore in the sheets." And Bailey said, "Do you hear that? She says she's a right hardcore. Sure, my God, man, that doesn't even sound sexy. She doesn't even know what sexy is." And Felicia said, "I'm like Justin Timberlake. I'm gonna bring sexy back." And there was silence in the room as both Jacob and Bailey looked at each other and just thought just how stupid a line that was. And Jacob said to Bailey, "Yeah, I suppose you're right." He says, "Give me £1,000,000 and I will not tell anybody." Bailey looked at Felicia and he said, "Do you have £1,000,000? Would you have stolen that much?" And Felicia said, "I'm not talking to you, dickhead. Go away. Never talk to me again, you wanker." So she then turned to Jacob and she walked over to him. She put one hand on his shoulder and slowly stroked his chest. And she said, "Jackie, I'm sure we can sort something out here." And Jacob said, "No. I mean, like, if your own husband is telling me how crap you are in bed, maybe I should just go for the money." And Felicia said, "He's only saying that because he doesn't want you to have me. He wants to be the only man to be able to say that he sleeps with me." And then Jacob looked over towards Billy, and Billy looked at him back as if to say, "Nah, that's not it at all." I've had better sexual escapades when a dog stomped my leg. And Jacob said, "Listen, Felicia, I've always liked you. I've always liked you and the girls. But I think I'm going to have to settle for the $1,000,000. So either give me $1,000,000 US, not Australian, or else I tell the company." To which Billy replied, "Dun dun dun." Felicia shot him a terrible look, and she said, "Billy, if you want to be on the same flight home as me, I'm asking you to leave the hotel room now." And Billy says, "We're not in a hotel room. We're at Jacob's house." And Felicia says, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Let's carry on." So Felicia said, "Billy, if you want to be in the same see that there was no point in arguing with Felicia. So he got up and he went out and ordered a taxi and took a cab back to his hotel, where he got piss-stinking drunk whilst watching reruns of 8 Simple Rules. God, how he loved that program. It wasn't the same after John Ritter died. So that left just Jacob and his manservant and Felicia in the house, in that lovely, waffly house. Felicia turned to Jacob and said, "Jacob, please don't tell anyone that I took the money. Please, you'll ruin me and you'll ruin my family." And Jacob replied, "Felicia, I would never ever tell the company what you're doing, because, well, I can't tell you why, because then you can blackmail me, and I'm not going to talk myself into trouble here already." And Felicia replied, "What if I was to, I don't know, show a bit more skin?" And Jacob replied, "That's what I have the manservant for." The manservant, who has not yet been named, came into the room, and he said, "Jacob, I am here for you always." And Jacob said, "Thank you, Bruce." That's a wee quote, as a wee side joke from The Simpsons there, in case you didn't get that. Anyway, so Felicia reached into her purse and she said to Jacob and Bruce, "Listen, guys, I will do anything to make sure that nothing comes of this. Please, 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 tell me how to get out of this problem." And Bruce replied, "Well, you could always try giving back the money." And Felicia gave him a bad look and said, "This doesn't involve you." And then Jacob replied, "Well, actually it does." And Felicia said, "How does it? How does it involve him?" And Jacob said, "Felicia, have you never wondered who was in charge of Big Briss Airways accountancy, chartered accountants firm?" And Felicia said, "You ask me if I've never wondered who was in charge of Big Briss's accountancy?" "No," he says, "no, that's not what I said. I said, if you never wondered who was in charge of Big Briss's Airways chartered accountancy, tax accountants company." And Felicia said, "I don't know, I always figured it was some kind of board of governors." And Jacob said, "Yes, but have you never wondered who Big Briss is?" And Felicia said, "To be honest, no, I haven't. I'd never thought of who Big Briss is." And just at that moment, the manservant turned, pulled down his trousers, and then, in that moment, Felicia knew who Big Briss was. And she turned to Jacob and she said, So he'd have known all along that I've been stealing from the company. Why did he let me come? Why did he not sack me long ago? And Jacob said, well, he's always wanted to meet you. He's wanted to see who was this junior member of the company who was so new but yet so good at stealing. And Felicia said, why couldn't he have met me over in my own country instead of making me fly the whole way to Australia? And Jacob said,